Yo, welcome back to the Transfer Portal CFB podcast presented by No Context CFB Week 6 preview. I do not know how we're all right here in Week 6. I've got Kyron Samuels with me today to talk some ball. What's up, Kyron? How are you doing?
Doing well, man. Happy to be back, and we're starting to really get into the thick of it here. So I'm excited to talk about some games this week and kind of state of college football right now.
Yeah, there's the sport's doing well.
Yeah.
Uh, good games, a lot of good strong performances. Players are going off everywhere. The Heisman race is, I guess
Yep.
we're getting close to it heating up. Brock Bowers possibly making a name for himself after they just cheat code against Auburn. I don't
So
know if voters were paying
if
attention, but
if we're actually going best player, then you got to throw Brock Bowers and Joe Alt up there. I mean, they're playing Olu too, for that matter. They're all three playing as good as anybody at their respective positions in the country.
you know I've been preaching the Joe Alt for Heisman train. Like if I had the Heisman vote, voting for the best player, it's that NFL MVP, all that stuff is just so skewed towards the casual. Let me pull up a box score. Let me look at Sports Reference, see who's got the
Right.
best stats. Oh, Kyron, this is crazy. A quarterback's got the best looking stats in the country. I mean, who
Who
would
would
have
have thought?
thought? Nuts, man. All right, we'll get talking about week 6 though. That's what should be on our minds right now. What's the first thought when you look at this slate?
um, maybe it's just regionality thing here. Grew up down in this area in the South, but the SEC is really starting to take shape here. I think we're starting to see who's real and who's not, and I think this is going to be the largest indication of that for the rest of the season. This week is going to determine how the rest of the season goes in the SEC. You got LSU at Missouri. We get to see how real Missouri is. We get to see what LSU is really made of. We know they're incredibly talented. We know they have a lot of NFL guys on that team, but they, hit a little bit of adversity. Had a game where they really should have won the game. Were in control of that game and let that game at Ole Miss get out of hand. Really had the opener against Florida State. Plenty of opportunities to put that game away early. Didn't seize it. Florida State comes back. They feel like they've let a national championship type season slip through their fingers. So we get to see what they're made of, and we get to see how, like, listen, Luther Burden against that secondary, God bless. I think it's going to be some fireworks. I think Missouri's going to score a lot of points if they can stop LSU. I don't know the answer to that. I'm leaning LSU, but we'll get to picks and stuff later. But huge matchup there in Columbia. Then we got Alabama at Texas A&M. We don't need to talk about how big that game is. I mean, Saban, Jimbo, those storylines for the last, I don't know, 10 years now they've been going at it. Texas A&M, in my opinion, one of the more underrated teams in the country. I think their season is not a reflection of that Miami game. They were out of sorts, turnovers, penalties, they played as badly as they probably could have played. I don't think we'll see that version of Texas A&M again this season. They're playing really well. Their defensive front, I don't know if you have seen, but they're the fourth team in college football history to register 15 tackles for loss in back-to-back weeks. So they're playing as good as anybody up front. And Alabama, while I think the offensive line the last 2 weeks has really started to flex their muscle a lot, they've struggled early in the season. So it's going to be a battle of strength versus quote-unquote weakness here. So I'm really excited about that one. And last one, ran a little bit here, but Georgia and Kentucky, I'm really excited about that one because Auburn, who's okay up front, has a good stable of backs, ran for 200 plus yards in those guys. But if you haven't seen Kentucky this year, if you haven't seen Ray Davis, the Vanderbilt transfer at Kentucky, and that Kentucky offensive line that's revamped and ready to go this year, they can really run the ball. They literally took Florida out of the game completely in the trenches. So I'm really excited to see how that game meshes because if they can play how they've been playing all year, Kentucky has a legit chance. We know what Brad White and that defense can do. It was a 16-6 game last year that they had plenty of chances to Kentucky, that is, to stay in there, maybe score some points to beat Georgia. So really excited about the SEC slate this weekend.
Need Devin Leary to
Yeah,
simply put show something.
right. Yeah, he's got to come on.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
a lot of that is like the time, the offense, the timing of the offense. Like
mhm.
it's just always out of sorts. They're taking a deep shot when they should be hitting underneath and on second and short, or excuse me, on second and medium, or they're on first and 10 and they're handing off when they could be taking the deep shot. It's just the timing hasn't really clicked. But I think that happens when you come back from the NFL back down to college. He needs a little bit of time to adjust. So I think they're all getting on the same page.
For the thing, my first thought, I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Washington State, UCLA, 12 p.m. Pacific on Pac-12 Network. What are we
A
doing?
travesty.
What are we
Travesty,
doing?
man.
That is a game. First of all, UCLA should be ranked. I don't really
Yes.
understand how they got dropped after
Yeah.
double defensive master classes against really good offensive lines in UCLA, Utah. I don't AP voters
Yeah.
smoking
If you
something
believe
every week.
if
Yeah.
you believe Utah is the top 15 team in the country, you can't believe UCLA isn't right there with them after that game. I mean, it makes no sense in my opinion. Same
Why?
with Duke. If you believe that Notre Dame's the top 10 team in the country, you have to believe that Duke's somewhere within 12 and 13 range. I don't understand the posters, man.
Look, every single week, no matter what show we're doing, it all roads lead back to Duke. They just do. Man, I
Yeah.
was talking about how much does it just pain you that Notre Dame went out there, lost the game against Ohio State that they should have won the game against Duke that they should have lost. Just flip
Yeah,
those
man.
for us, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, look,
look at that
football
top
guys, they
10
got to pay us
dude.
back some kind of way.
They gotta. But yes, UCLA Washington State being on Pac-12 Network, an absolute joke.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the other games in that, second slate of the day, you have Virginia Tech, Florida State's getting ABC treatment. Alabama A&M, no hate there on CBS. That's the good stuff. Syracuse, North Carolina's out there on ESPN. You got Purdue and Iowa on Peacock. Nobody's going to be watching that one either. Like,
Yeah.
I just, that slate is so mediocre. And to have one of the best games of the day and of the week in Washington State, UCLA on Pac-12 Network,
Right.
what are we doing? We got to be better. Cam Ward,
Yeah, man.
that
I
Washington
was just
State
about to say
receiving
that.
core, the defense, they all deserve
He
better.
deserves the spotlight, man. He
Yeah,
deserves the spotlight. He deserves a national showcase game. And who better to? I mean, UCLA. We just talked about them. They're one of the better teams in the country, in my opinion. Like you have to give those guys the stage. And we could go to the whole realignment, Pac-12 fumble situation, but I think it's more on the Pac-12 and the decision makers than anybody else. This
yep.
should have been rectified years ago, and they would be set up to be. I don't know. As an SEC guy, when you add Texas and Oklahoma, they would be set up right there. I think it was a much better product than the Big Ten. So they would be going head to head with the SEC for the best product and the best teams for the next 10 years if they had played it correctly. But really, really sucks because you have guys like Cam Ward, and then you got a kid like Dante Moore, who's a true freshman, going to be one of the quarterbacks we talking about, quarterback one in a couple of years.
This is the sport, yeah.
Come on, like huge fumble. I'll never get over it. And I'm not even a Pac-12 guy. I've been historically like Pac-12. They always complain about not getting a team in because it's so competitive. I'm like, the Big Ten and the SEC are competitive, but that's not an excuse. But I love the product, man. Pac-12 after dark, seeing those West Coast offenses, and then even the clash of styles when you go to these bowl games and these these out of conference matchups early in the season. The Pac-12, man, just colossal fumble. I'll never get over it.
And it's like growing up, I never even cared about the whole Pac-12 needs to get a team in the playoff thing. I never cared about that. I just wanted the dang conference to get some respect, some more eyes on it. And Dion's helped out with that plenty. Like more people are staying up east of Mississippi to watch Pac-12 football, whether Colorado's playing that night or not. Like people are paying attention now. Best product in this sport. The Pac-12's elite, and it's just tough knowing that conference, despite the ineptitude at the top, whether it have been Larry Scott, who's one of the worst tennis players of all time per win-loss record, and then George Kliavkoff, like no matter which inept leader was running things, the Pac-12 was putting out a really dang good product every single year with good quarterback play, really good skill position players, guys on defense. These guys are all going out there in the pros, making a living, doing things well. I mean, they just dropped the ball. And it stinks to see Washington State here on Pac-12 Network in week 6, number 13 team in the country. I have them at number 10, and it's like, no wonder that them and Oregon State are getting robbed in this whole thing.
Right.
And McAfee's going to do his thing, and I don't know what's going on there. He's got. I don't know why he's trying to fight Washington State. You don't try and fight a beloved figure like that. That's a mistake. Let's
he's
go
just
on.
trying to be a good teammate. It shows his lack of understanding about the hierarchy in college football. and how fans view things. And I think it also shows ESPN's ineptitude. But I don't think, and a lot of people, this is a whole different conversation. I'm actually glad we got to get into a little bit. It's been an overarching problem throughout all of media, throughout every network. It's not just the ESPN thing. It's not just the Pat McAfee thing. Every one of these broadcast networks could be doing a lot better, telling the true stories, painting the real pictures, and putting the best teams to accurately represent that picture in the spotlight. Like Washington State, people don't know how crazy a game in Pullman is. People don't know how crazy a game in Corvallis is. People need to know these, but you have to tell these stories. You have to put them on a big new network for college game day. You have to give them a college game day, big new network kickoff, and put them in the spotlight. So it's a structural problem from top to bottom. And Pat McAfee is kind of unjustly wearing the entire face of it. But that's what happens when you're loud and you stick your neck out there like that. But it's really, I'm glad we talked about that because it's really a problem throughout sports. And that's where I think guys like us and guys like, I'm drawing a blank for other guys to come in right now, but people that actually love college football and to tell these stories and to highlight these guys and to talk about a Riley Leonard before everybody else does. And hey, we need to watch this guy. To talk about we'll probably get into him a little bit later, but Austin Reed at West Kentucky and what he's done the last 2 seasons, and share these guys' story because they're the unsung heroes that make the game we love special.
Well said. I couldn't have said any better. It's what I've been fighting for a few years now. And this in college basketball, the story's just got to be told from top to bottom. We can't keep limiting it to the top programs. And what can you do, man? There's so much more that helps make this sport special.
Let's say Alabama loses a game. Let's say they lose Texas A&M. What happens when Alabama loses 3 games, and then you got to put the 3-loss team in the 230 slot instead of the undefeated team that nobody's ever seen before? It all adds up, man. So hopefully we will get on a better plane here. But I'm glad that there's people like us that actually understand that and care enough to talk about it.
Most definitely. How about a storyline that you're looking forward to this week? Whether it be, a big storyline, something you're kind of hesitant to see what happens, strange things, worse storyline, etc. Like what's most sticking out to you?
Okay, we talk about the team enough, but the Alabama team, if they go in there and dominate that game and beat a very good Texas A&M team on the road, what the storyline will be, and if they go in there and lose a game to a very good Texas A&M team, what the storyline will be. Preseason, all we were hearing is that Alabama's going to struggle. Georgia's the new standard, this and that. And then right before the season started, week 0, week 1, it seemed like everybody started changing their tune. They're like, oh, Alabama's going to win the national championship. Alabama's this, Alabama's that. Then they lose to Texas, which, and listen, if you watch Texas play, they've been good all year, but they play at an entirely different level in the first and the fourth quarter of the Alabama game that I haven't seen them get close to at any other point in the season. So Texas, in my opinion, might have punched a little bit above their weight class and made some crazy plays. Sark called a perfect game. And then everybody's like, Alabama sucks now. Oh, dynasty's over, this and that. And then now we're back. Alabama's looked pretty good after that USF game. Milroe's the guy. Got a really good win over an Ole Miss team, and then went out there and just dominated Mississippi State. Defense is like top 5 in scoring, I believe. I believe they're giving up 15 or something like that. They're giving up not very many points a game. Offensive line looking better. Milroe's kind of established itself. What is the narrative going to be around this team? We have to pick one. And this is even frustrating as a guy who lives in the state of Alabama. Alabama fans are almost kind of the same. It's like 1 week they're like the greatest team ever, 1 week they suck. We have to kind of figure out what we're going to establish about this team and go with it.
It's such it's really happening in all sports. It's just so reactionary. Every thought made is so reactionary and just clinging on to the most recent thing that happened. And it's like something that happened 2 weeks ago completely wiped from your brain and your memory because of something that happens 3 days ago or whatever. And it's just like you've got to take in all this stuff and let it all soak into your brain like the good sponge that it is, and just evaluate everything as a whole and come to good decisions. Teams are going to have great games no matter how good or bad they are. They're going to have bad games no matter how good or bad they are.
Yep.
We know what's coming. Like,
I'm glad you said that, because the narrative around Georgia, I'm seeing that there's no way they should be the number 1 team in the country. I'm like, you have to understand what you're watching here. They replaced their offensive coordinator. They replaced their quarterback. They replaced 3 NFL guys up front. They replaced 2 NFL guys on the outside, and one of them's at Texas now at receiver. And essentially, they're playing with an entirely new offense minus Sid Van Pran and Tate Ratledge. Then they get in their first game, Amarius Mims gets hurt. They're playing with an entirely new offense pretty much. So there's going to be growing pains. And I don't think that it's a disservice that a team with a quarterback as talented as Spencer Rattler comes into Georgia and gives them a tough test. That's what happens when you go play tough teams every week. Then you go into Jordan-Hare Stadium at Auburn against that defense with that revamped style. Hugh Freeze, who's a guy who knows how to win in the SEC, has already done an incredible job, in my opinion, turning over that roster to be competitive. It's hard to win football games week in and week out. Georgia's kind of getting some of the Alabama treatment now. Like, they've been so good for so long now that it's even, I call it the Floyd Mayweather treatment. Floyd Mayweather, if you're familiar with boxing, 50-0, he beat people so clean. It was, people called him boring. They said it wasn't entertaining. But when he did have a close fight, everybody just automatically assumed he lost or that he was falling off. If somebody won 3 or 4 rounds and then Floyd would edge it out at the end, they'll say it's a robbery. I think we're kind of seeing that with Georgia here. Like, they're not edging out games; they're earning games. They played very bad in the first half of that game. They had 2 turnovers. Auburn played very well, executed, didn't give them the ball. They did what they're supposed to do. Georgia took that game. Auburn didn't lose it. So I think you got to start giving teams credit. They should be the #1 team in the country because they've shown they have that championship DNA, man.
I agree with half of it and disagree with another half of it. I think half the reason why we get to this point where people are like arguing the fact they shouldn't be #1 in this and that. You just talked about how much they had to replace and then losing Amarius too on top of it. Like,
yep.
Then maybe don't rank that team #1 to start the season just because of what they did the past 2 seasons. There's your first mistake.
Yep. I'm 100% in agreement there.
Yeah,
I'm 100% in agreement
like,
there.
And you've got to be as a voter, and I don't like. I know my passion gets like mistaken for hate and stuff when I'm tweeting about the 8 people and this and that, and just like it seems like I'm outraged, but it's really like I'm just trying to be passionate and get the sport represented better. You can't like cling on to this stuff so much, and you've got to be willing to make change. So Georgia is really hanging on to that preseason #1 ranking for a lot of voters, whether they deserve it or not. I have them #3. I think #3 is a very fair spot. I think I might jump the gun, putting Oregon ahead of them. I really might jump the gun there. I'm very cool with Washington at 1 right now. But for people to go out there and try to when a team goes out there and wins a conference road game, it really depends on how, like, Penn State blowing out Northwestern in the end is not impressive at all. They were just an awful team in the first half of that game, and then the talent wins out. It's a complete difference in what Georgia has to do at Auburn. That is a hungry Auburn team that was in there with one goal in mind to win that game, send Georgia home, and celebrate. Exactly. That's their Super Bowl. That's their national championship. Mm-hmm. Northwestern, like, whatever.
Right. And the thing is that we'll come to a point in the season where they'll play like that Penn State that is against an Ohio State or against the Michigan, and then they'll be down 2 touchdowns, and we'll be saying, "What the heck's going on? Oh my God, we thought they were so great." The signs are usually there all the time.
Yeah.
So if you're paying attention, if you're watching the games, exactly. So if you're watching these games, you're paying attention, you'll see. It'll get to a point where Ohio State, their defense playing extremely well. They'll play a Penn State or what have you, or a Michigan like we've seen in the last couple of years, and they'll get down a couple scores. And that offense, it's crazy to say it from an Ohio State offense, is not built to come from behind. We haven't seen them be explosive. Their best performance was against, I don't know, Indiana, I believe it was, in the second half of that game. So,
scored 0.1 or whatever in that game. Oof.
So, even like in Alabama, we saw it with the Milrow. The defense is incredible. The defense, in my opinion, 1 or 2 with Georgia right now. If I'm talking about, if I was picking a defense, I'll pick them. But they have to be consistent, not turning the ball over and running the football better. People talk about the passing game, but in my opinion, the running game is what stifled them early. They weren't able to establish the run and dominate like we used to see them dominate, and they had to do all this stuff in the passing game because they couldn't run the ball as well.
That's what we wanted to see coming into the season.
Exactly. So those things normally show themselves through the season, and this is why I wholeheartedly agree with your opinion to project in the future. I think it's okay to put Oregon at #1. How many teams have been more impressive than them from start to finish. I would say Washington is the only team, in my opinion, that's been more impressive from start to finish this season. So if you're saying who do I think is the most complete and the best team in the country is right now, I'll have zero debates if you said Oregon or Washington because I don't think anybody's looked better than them talked about it.
And we talk about a road game and slipping up and Oregon, Texas Tech. Oregon looked down in the water that game and they figure it out. Great teams figure out how to win in terrible circumstances, and they did.
Yep.
And with Georgia Auburn, because I want to circle back there, I got hate going into the season for my preseason poll, which I hate doing, but I did it anyway. Water gun held to my head. Whatever, got out of that sticky situation. I said Georgia's toughest game this season at Auburn. I think I DM'd you it too before the season when I was writing the article. And it's like, yeah, that's going to prove to be true. The rest of Georgia's season, they should be cool. They should be ready to go for everything. They've now prepared themselves with this test. And their second half adjustments were really good. They started to take away the edge that Auburn was just torching them on with the run game the entirety of that first half. They were able to overcome their mistakes, their turnovers, throw it to the superhero Brock Bowers, and it's literally a cheat code. You want the tush push band? Some of us non-Georgia fans want Brock Bowers band because it's just not fair. Georgia wins an incredible, impressive, hard-fought game there that many other teams in the country are not coming away with. Their defense stifled Auburn in that second half, and like you got to give credit where credit is due. It's a 7-point win. If that's all you're going to look at, then maybe college football isn't the right sport for you. Like it's just like that.
100% agree. And this is the reason why I still have Georgia at number one is because everything you just said is a huge reflection of the coaching staff. Having the coaches that are going there at halftime, a guy like Kirby, a guy like Glenn Schumann, who I think is the best position coach, or excuse me, best coordinator in America, that makes those adjustments. They did the same thing in South Carolina. His speech at halftime of the South Carolina game went viral. So you can have all the talent, you can have all the pieces. If you don't know what you're doing in terms of in-game adjustments, in terms of motivation, in terms of making hard decisions, pulling guys out, putting guys in, trying new guys, I trust Georgia staff to do it, and that's why I have them at number one, and I've seen action of that already in the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can have these different philosophies, like we're talking about, why you believe that a team like Oregon should be ranked number one, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. But a team like Georgia, why I think they should still be ranked number one, it's for those reasons. And I just don't think people are as nuanced as that when they're making these choices. They're just watching box scores at the end of the week, or they'll catch a primetime game. Right. So as long as you have a valid, reason, why are you doing this? Why are you supporting this take and this support? And you can't watch every game, but you can watch most of them. It's your job to do it, so do it.
Yeah. You bring up the whole second half adjustments thing is just funny because I'm thinking of a whole lot of programs that have incompetent coaching staffs that really don't do it. And then that's my thing with Georgia is just show me that you could go out there and dominate in the first half. Stop playing with your food. But I don't need to see you guys dominate the third quarter or the fourth quarter at this point. I really don't care. I know that you could do that. Show us something as simple as going out there, getting up 20-0 in the first quarter and cruising the rest of the game, and your backups are in the majority of the second half. Just stop playing around. Man, my storyline gonna be quarterback at Arkansas State, Jalen Raynor, true freshman. That kid's tearing it up, man. He has went. Yes, it was UMass, but UMass has a really good corner in Jordan Mahoney, and he goes 20 of 25 against UMass for 383, 6 touchdowns. I don't care what level of ball you're playing at. That's a true freshman playing a road game. Arkansas State's pretty mid. Mid's probably being a little generous there. UMass is bottom of the barrel, yes. But you're a true freshman. Go and do that on the road on top of a strong performance against Southern Miss that you already had. He played in the Stony Brook game. I think that's what showed him, we got to give this kid reps and let him cook. Arkansas State all of a sudden has something at quarterback. And we know with these low-level group of 5 schools, you find something at quarterback, the entire trajectory of your season has just changed. If Arkansas State now has a legit, bona fide, true freshman star at quarterback and he stays there for next season, now you're talking about Arkansas State all of a sudden maybe being a scary team in the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt just got deeper. we'll see how Rayner looks the rest of the season. I'm very excited. Huge test for him this week. That's why it's my storyline. You're at Troy. Troy just played their best defensive game of the season. They shut Georgia State down to just 7 points. That's a prolific Georgia State offense with Granger running things, who's a wily vet, been doing that at Furman and Georgia State. Shut them down 7 points. So let's see what Rayner's got. I'm very excited. They're 16.5-point underdogs going up against a really good Group 5 defense. True freshman, another road test. See the real deal?
I'm excited. One of my former teammates, Brandon Tompkins, he was a all Sun Belt guy back in the day. Played at Arkansas State. He started sending me videos of the kid because I didn't know much about him. I mean, I'm not watching Arkansas State most of the time, but he told me to watch the highlights for the kid, and the kids lighted up. So I'm excited about it. You talk about G5. I wrote an article about it, but G5 is really, really strong. There's a lot of good football teams in G5 right now. I think with the transfer portal, there's guys coming down, and with the alignment from let's say a Barry Alexander goes from a Georgia to a USC, you're not offering a scholarship now to a high school kid. So those top mid-tier high school kids, those 3 stars, some of the low 4 stars, they're going to these G5s now. And I think we're starting to see a little bit of that triculate through. And there's some really talented G5 teams, man.
100%. I think Rayner was like a 2-star, maybe a fringe 3, and he had an Air Force offer, and I think Army as well. Like he had, I don't know, it's why I love college football. When you see a random kid, Jalen Rayner, who just enrolled in the spring, and he's out here months later tearing it up, putting up 50 on the road, 6 touchdowns, and now we could be looking at someone who maybe doesn't stick around Arkansas State. Maybe he's transferring up, and you see a future star in the sport. Who knows? How about who needs to make a statement this week, whether it be a player or a team? Maybe it's a coach. I don't know what you cooked up.
All right. So I hate to say this because I love the guy, and I haven't even checked to see who they're playing this week. But Sam Pittman needs a win really bad. I love the guy, man. And this kind of goes into what we'll probably talk about later, but man, he needs a win. He needs to get to 8 wins this year, some kind of way, somehow. He needs to get to 8 wins. I don't think under the current structure of the SEC, with the resources, because people may not be aware, Arkansas is not devoid of resources. They have a lot of money in the area. They have a very good recruiting pool in the Texas area, in the rest of the Southeast. I don't know how much longer you give Sam, and I hate to say that because I really do love this guy, but I don't know how much longer you give a Sam Pittman. I think they may have maxed out under his tutelage. I think they have. And that's what disheartens me because I'm like, I don't think they are not squeezing the most out of these teams. I think they're getting the absolute most out of these teams, and it's just not good enough. And despite being able to max out that team, that's also an issue. If that is the ceiling of your team, we may need to look somewhere else. So I think Sam Pittman and the Arkansas Razorbacks need to really, really, really kick it into gear here and get some big wins because it's looking tough for them if we're talking about future prospects past the season.
Yeah, they've got Ole Miss this week. I feel it's become a yearly occurrence now where people are just looking ahead at the rest of Arkansas season after non-conference play, and they're like, Arkansas is facing a gauntlet. Yeah, because they play in the SEC. We know what the stature of that program. They're not at the bottom, but they're definitely not at the top. They're smack dab in the middle. So you've got a gauntlet every single season. Like it's just tough. I like Sam Pittman too. I love how passionate he is, and I want to see him succeed. It's just year after year, I feel like I'm picking on his teams. Like I just don't see how they could win those 8-9 games. Like I just cannot envision that.
I think he's the quintessential. We hear it all the time. Everybody ain't a head coach. That's a guy that you 100% want on your staff. You maybe even associate type head coach. Let's say you have a Mel Tucker situation. Don't have to get into that. If you have a Sam Pittman on your staff, he automatically gets elevated to the acting head coach, interim head coach. He's the type of guy you want in those situations to rally and galvanize teams. It's just, man, you got to be able to get on that road and recruit. You got to make the right hires as coordinator. And I don't know if that happens. I won't talk about the offensive situation there, but KJ Jefferson's having to play hero ball, and that may just be a product of the personnel and the roster itself. But either way, the buck stops with the head coach. So love the guy. I just think he may be a position coach, associate head coach type more than he is an actual head coach.
And ain't nothing wrong with that. It's
Nope,
still a
a lot
good
of money
life
in
to
these
live.
buyouts, baby.
Indeed, it is. For, you know, my statement, I'm gonna be picking on him again. Jeff Halfley. You're going to
Ah,
play Army on the road this week. You're 2.5 point underdogs. Is that what we want from Boston College? Is that what is where? How low is the bar if that's the level of mediocrity that we're content with? If you go out and lose this game, you probably should lose it. Like I just don't think that you're the better team. You just, I'm not even beating Virginia is not impressive at all, unless you're talking
yeah.
to Tennessee fans who thought that was one of the most impressive wins of non-conference play for some reason. Boston College is going to have to make a really tough decision at some point. And do you want that decision to be made earlier, or do you want it to be made later in the season? I lean towards earlier. If Jeff Halfley goes out and loses this game to Army, am I cutting ties? Possibly, or I'll just wait till he loses to Georgia Tech, and then we're just getting it done, and we're getting our new coach in to play Syracuse, and it's like, or to play UConn. Sorry, it's just like I just
Yeah,
can't
man.
imagine settling for such mediocrity. That
Yeah,
product at Boston College. Think about it. Seems like just yesterday that we were talking about Phil the Thrill out there throwing the Zay Flowers and talking about this program. They could do something really special. Like Boston College could sneakily win the ACC or contend for it like 2 years ago. Look how the mighty have fallen. This
yeah.
program is it's in shambles, and like we're talking about Sam Pittman, Jeff Halfley might not be a guy that you want as a head coach, or maybe he's a good Group of Five coach. I don't know. We'll have to see what the
Right.
future holds. But why would I want that product out there? You lost Northern Illinois home. You scrape by to beat Holy Cross. The Florida State game is an absolute anomaly in every sense of the word, and you got to make tough decisions, man. There's got to be better hires.
Yeah, I believe they're in the same kind of situation that Arkansas is in if we're talking about the tier within their conference. But the difference is they have a much clearer path to getting to the top than Arkansas does. You have the resources, you have the infrastructure. Boston is an incredible place. It's an easy sell. If you get a kid up there to that school, you sell them on being able to play some of the best teams in the country in the ACC. They have a clear path to being a very successful program, and they're in a conference where a couple tweaks here and there. Like you said, I think it's kind of adjacent to the G5 teams. Get you a good transfer quarterback in there, or find you the right young guy. You get a couple transfers here and there. You're right back in contention in the ACC. So I think that sooner rather than later is the best, because if you're losing to an Army, how are you going to call up a kid on Wednesday and sell him on your program if he's watching you lose to Army? If he's watching you go toe to toe with FCS schools, and I'm an FCS guy myself, it's a hard sell for these coaches to get on the phone, to go to these schools and wear the emblem on their chest proudly when you're losing to service academies, man. It just is what it is.
And like we know that you could do it and
Yes.
contend and be good in that ACC if
At
you
least
make
get
the
to
right
8-4 a
hire.
year.
You and
8-4 should
I,
be the standard.
like you and I are looking at Duke, and they're chilling right now because of Coach Elko. They identified the right guy. It's more than a grand slam, the hire that they had. I think you and I would both agree he's a top 10 coach in the country. Like he is that special of a head coach. There's no shortage of talent out there in the coaching carousel. You've got to
Mhm.
go find your guy. Make Ryan Grubb at Washington an offer he can't refuse. Like he'll
Man.
probably have bigger offers. Send him a blank check. I really do not care. You've got to
Yep.
do something to steer your program back in the right direction. Because I mean, growing up, Boston College was fun with Matty Ice, and they
Oh
still
yeah.
got they still got
Mark
great
Herslick and
players.
those
Like
guys. I remember those guys.
yeah,
Appointment TV. Those are. I still remember some of the night games they played. The Georgia Tech game
those
where
those
they came
night
back
games
and
are special.
yeah, man.
So like
So I'm
I
really excited.
want to recreate those on NCAA any video game. I don't remember what year, just insert year here, and it's like I want to do a dynasty and play Boston College and host some of these night games. It's a fun environment. It's fun seeing
Yep.
those games in Chestnut Hill on TV late night where it's just pitch black and good stuff happens. And again, they've had no shortage of talent come through as players. They just had Zay Flowers and Jalen Gill in the
Right.
receiver room, and they
And listen,
misused Gill. And
and we're able to retain Zay Flowers. That was not cheap. So that means that they have some infrastructure. That means they have some resources to retain some of the guys that they're keeping.
And they went out and got good college players like Trey Berry,
Yep.
Jaden Woodby. Like they've had good enough players. So Boston College, like I think you got to part ways with Hafley, especially if he loses this week to Army, which I think Army should win. Then you've got to make the tough decision. You've got to identify someone, pay somebody a lot of money to get you back on track. Oh, that's awkward. Our next topic was first head coach to be fired / part ways.
Right. I think we just covered both of those. So I hope it's not the case for Mr. Sam here, but I think if you are ever going to make a decision, you have to make it in this year in 2023 because it's such a transitional period next year. You're going into the deep end. Oklahoma's coming, Texas is coming. You have to be able to compete recruiting wise. The same with Boston College. It's not going to get any easier from here. I mean, Florida State's still there for now. You got the West Coast teams and the Cal and SMU's, and those teams are coming over. It's not going to get any easier. So you need to make your moves right now. And that's why I think those guys, like you just said, are going to be on the hottest of seats and maybe a little bit sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think if I had to take a prediction at who the first one will be fired, I'm gonna be honest. I want to say Tony Elliott because that's what my brain says, but
Yeah.
I would have fired him after last season and never. I would have fired him before I wouldn't have hired him in the first place, but it is what it is. I'm not making the calls there. Um, I'm gonna go in a different route though. I'm gonna say Brady Hoke at San Diego State. I think
Mm,
he might be the first guy to go. They shouldn't have beat Ohio. They only beat Ohio because Rourke went down. They barely beat Idaho State. They've been smacked around in physical areas of the game against UCLA, Oregon State, Boise State, Air Force. So that's a tough 4 games. You're at Hawaii next week. You got Nevada. I don't think the San Diego State team is good enough to say that they could go 2-0 against those guys. Like they could very well
yeah.
split those. Like they have their schedule's so soft too. Like you got it started hard. It's these next few weeks at Hawaii versus Nevada versus Utah State. That's soft. If you're not going
Yeah.
2-1 there, I'm just contised and
Especially
I'm
for that team.
figuring it out.
They are historically a very solid program.
They've lost their
Those are
defense.
right. Those are the games that program should be able to win handily. So I do agree with you there. Like historically, we've seen. I mean, they put out some pros over the last decade of football, and I think that they could be a team, especially with all the transitionary periods. They could be a team that capitalizes on some of these guys out west and really steal some of these guys recruiting wise. I really think that they could be a player out there.
Yeah, I mean, like they were begging to get in the Pac-12 and it failed. Their stadium has not gone as planned. Like it's not filling up, and fans are complaining about the heat there. Like since the inaugural game that they hosted, and I don't know what's going on there. Maybe that was a bad investment. Which if so, yikes. Maybe
Yeah.
only play night games. Like put a strict call that we're only gonna play night games. I don't know though. Like I said, their defense is not up to San Diego State standards. That's bizarre to see. Also at running back, we're used to them churning out pro caliber talent at running back year
Yep.
after year. The Ryan Matthews, the Donnell Pumphrey. Sorry for tripping up and thinking Fresno State legend went there. The Donnell Pumphrey's like, where is that?
And to me, there's no excuse in the transfer portal world to not at least try to go acquire some of this type of talent. Like you have every opportunity available to dip into. You have the JUCO market, and I guarantee you there's a good JUCO running back somewhere in California or somewhere in Kansas that would love to go play at San Diego State. Like there's just not an excuse not to go find those type of guys.
Facts. I thought that there's a kid on their roster, Lucky Southern. I know he's a redshirt freshman now. He's from California. He's a 3-star. I thought he'd have got some run by now. Just hasn't. So who knows,
Yeah,
man. We also kind of already covered this one too, which was #1 team in the country. So I think we
right.
can move on from that one.
Yeah.
Players to watch this week. One Power 5 guy, one Group of 5 guy. Who's catching your eye?
So I mean, I hate to say this is a homer pick, but it's not. Chris Braswell, the edge at Alabama opposite Dallas Turner. Really watch for this guy this week. I think he's primed for a huge game and season. I think he's quietly been one of the 4 or 5 best edges in all of college football right now, and it's just going a little bit unnoticed because Dallas is probably the best right now. But listen, this guy's a beast, man. He's so technically proficient. It's like a robot. People say kids are robots, and I don't really agree with that because the people that they're saying robots are so fluid and athletic and rangy. They do some of these things that are alien like. But this kid is a robot in terms of like retention. It looks like he's doing literally sled drills when he's playing football. It's one of the coolest things I've seen. He's coming off, he literally shocks every time. His head is where it needs to be. He's doing it looks like he's just practicing. And that's started to translate a little bit because he's 6'4", 240 pounds. So now we're starting to see something like the freak athletic ability kind of shine through as well. But he's just so technically proficient, and that's why he got on the field last year. But now he's starting to take a step forward. I think he's really starting to put it all together, and we're starting to see that same technical ability and some of that natural ability mesh at the same time. And you're getting a guy that's 1 sack. I believe he has 3.5. He only has 1 sack less than Dallas Turner right now. So he's playing almost on par with the Dallas Turner level. And Dallas Turner talked about as the top 10, 20 pick in the 2024 draft cycle. So he's the guy that I'm really excited about. And I think he has an opportunity to have a huge game against this Texas A&M offensive line. And G5 level, I'm going to go quarterback Austin Reed from Western Kentucky. I love this kid. He's the guy that I talked about briefly. I believe it was Jordan Reed, one of the draft guys. It was Jordan Reed. I posted a clip of him throwing against Auburn last year. I thought he had a very good game against Auburn, showed some really good stuff. And he's already translated and had a really good season this year. I mean, he has, put on the stats up real quick. He's 131 of 212 for 1,368 yards, 11 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. And he's played against some tough competition, man. And the USA this year, pretty exciting. So my Jacksonville State game, Cox Steel, we're going to play those guys later this year. And, I'm really excited about it. I'll be in the building for that one. But I really like that kid. And he's a quarterback that I think you should keep your eye on because he's a guy that'll be, in my opinion, a late round type draft pick or a guy that can potentially get into some of these all-star games and really make a name for himself at the end of the season. So excited for Austin Reed.
He's fiery too, and he'll talk good smack to the defense, which you gotta love. Good picks for me. I've showed Clemson a bit of, I'm not gonna say I've been hating on them. I've been doubting them. I've been calling out their offense, and rightfully so. Yeah. But they've found something on the offensive side of the ball. A freshman Tyler Brown at receiver from Greenville, South Carolina, who has truly flipped the script a bit for this offense. Like Clemson now has something. They've been desperate to find a vertical option in the passing game since Justin Ross, essentially, and they have never been able to find it. They've been targeting kids in their recruiting process, obviously not the portal, because you know how Dabo rolls. They've been targeting recruits who are like 6'2" and up. They don't separate well. They're jump ball threats. Just a backwards way of thinking for Clemson, truly. If you're going to keep targeting that, and they kept missing and they weren't able to develop them, they struck gold here in Tyler Brown. He's a freshman. He could definitely, I think he's a definite NFL draft pick when it's all said and done. It could be a day 2 guy, 5'11". He's tearing it up. He's just out there offering he's just taking the top off the defense, right? And they're also finding good ways to get him the ball, activate him, unleash his abilities, really good short area quickness and burst and immaculate footwork. Like they struck gold on a receiver, and that's the first time that we could actually say that since Justin Ross. So that's really good to see. He's got 21 for 316 on the season, 2 touchdowns, had a big catch against Syracuse to help seal that win, and he's got Wake Forest this week. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he fares. And then my group of 5 pick, it was tough. Then I was kind of looking at the schedule, and I said, all right, if you weren't going to talk about him, I will. Ashton Jeanty. I mean, my goodness, man. I got hate coming into the season. People question me because I said he's the best running back on Boise State, as if that's some blasphemous comment. This guy's been the best pro prospect on this Boise State team. since JL Skinner stopped playing ball last season due to injury, like GT took over in that running back room. Every touch that he has is just you could
Right.
attest to it. It's must see TV.
Yeah.
I've frantically sent clips I've tweeted out of GT over the last few weeks to like draft people like Edholm, like Sycamore, and they're just they're in awe. Sycamore, I remember he saw me as just like, my goodness, that kid's contact balance. It's just
Right.
like he's just a special player that is too good to be playing at a group 5 level. Are we gonna see him transfer up after a season? I hope
I
so,
hope
because
not.
that's I
I
hope
hope
so
not.
because it's gonna help his wallet. It's gonna help his bank account.
Okay, fine. You're right. You're right. You're right. It actually will
That's
help his
why,
wallet.
look, I
Yeah,
hope it
it'll help
does
his
for
wallet.
that, and it's going to help Jambrace Dubar, who's a true freshman back there, who's also going to be an NFL back. It's going to give him the clear RB1 job at Boise State. So I'm looking out for both their bank accounts, but Gene T just all around innate receiver too.
His brain just works so fast. Like people like it's one thing to have the ability to do some of the stuff he does, but to make those decisions in split seconds and to know what he's so decisive. That is
The
a
spin move
skill,
he
and that is
had
a
against San Diego State at the line of
man.
scrimmage and just rolled off and goes down for like 30
Right.
yards.
Then he hops over the kid at the goal line last week in Memphis, and it's just like, whose brain even thinks to do stuff like that? Like his brain just operates at a different speed. So,
I,
really do love that kid, man. And he's young, man. People don't. He's a young guy, so I'm really excited to see how he actually grows and gets better.
he's yeah, I don't know. It's scary, man. I can't wait. He's going to be a day two NFL draft pick. If he's not, something's wrong with a lot of NFL front offices, which I think we already think is right. But you got to make that call. He's got to be a top 3 round pick, and he's going to make a fan base very happy, fantasy owners very happy. Like, this kid is the real deal. I can confidently say he's a top 5 running back in this sport right now. Like, he just is. What we're seeing from him every single week. If he was playing for a bigger school, I mean, just think of how much he'd be talked about. Like, this is one
Yeah,
of the. Can we even say he's one of the best kept secrets in the sport? Like, nobody on national
yeah,
level is talking about this kid.
yeah. No question, no question. He's one of the best kept secrets, and I don't want to say that's an indictment, but it is. Like this kid should be talked about. He really is that good. It's not like he isn't playing on some big networks. He just played a 2:30 game on ESPN, so it's like he's getting some eyes. Like, but you just have to elevate these guys and talk about
Mm-hmm.
these guys more. So I'm glad that you're doing that because man, this kid really is as advertised.
Yeah, like I was talking about him going into last season, so going into his true freshman season, because I wrote about 5 freshmen that could make an impact, and he was on my list. And then I was talking about Dubar coming into this season as another one that could impact. And it's like Boise State's missed. They've just straight up missed a lot and kind of botched opportunities everywhere due to coaching these last 2 seasons now. But they hit on these running backs, and what they're doing in the running back room cannot go overlooked. I mean, they still have George Halana, who's out with injury, but kid's a stud in his own right. And
Yep.
I think like he's the 3rd best back in the room, in my opinion, which is nuts to say. But
Right.
yeah, just a lot of stock in Ashton Jeanty. He's a star in the sport. He gets better every single week, and yeah, I don't know. It's just a shame that you can't get talked about, and it's a shame that Boise State's not playing late night this week. They're 5 o'clock Pacific time on CBS Sports Network. There's only 2 late night games. There's only 2 games
Yeah.
after 7 o'clock Pacific. Boise State should be on late. Come on.
Every time. Every time.
That's tough, man. Let's make some game picks though. Red River, Oklahoma, Texas. Who you got?
Uh, it might be an unpopular pick, but I'm going Oklahoma here. I absolutely love what I've seen from just, and this is like X's and O's is one thing. I think they're just better tactically, 100% this year. But the demeanor, the attitude, the swagger, as they call it, like Oklahoma's just an entirely different ball club. It reminds me of some of the old Oklahoma Bob Stoops teams that we've seen in the past. The identity, that physicalness, and they still don't fully have the personnel to do exactly what they want to do. But man, just the attitude is back, especially defensively. I believe they're Oklahoma, and it's another school I'm drawing a blank right now. I can't remember, but I saw earlier they're one of two teams that haven't given up a rushing touchdown this year through four games already. So excuse me, 5 games. So I'm really, really excited to see how that goes against Texas offense. And I think that Oklahoma's offense is probably the most underappreciated offense in the country right now. Dylan Gabriel and those guys and spread the ball out. Uh, and I think Jalil Farouk's going to have a big game this week. I don't know why, but I just have a feeling he's going to have a big game this week. But I really do like Oklahoma's offense, defense, special teams as well. I think Texas is more talented. There's just something about it, and I have a feeling that they're going to play to the standard of Venables. They're going to play to the standard of Todd Bates and the defensive coaches. And I think they're going to pull out a win here, man. I truly do believe that. Texas is talented. If they beat them by 20, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm going with my gut feeling here, and I really do believe Oklahoma's going to have to pull that game out.
Quinn Ewers, he's a big game player. I think we've all realized that his game just elevates in these big games that where there's just more on the line. The spread here is Texas by 6.5. Truthfully, I thought Texas might have been favored by a bit more, kind of closer to double digits, because this is one of the top ranked teams in the country. They've been talked about so much. Ain't nobody talking about Oklahoma. They're just not. Oklahoma, that shark in the water, you cue the Jaws music and they come up on you and something just happened. Texas is just cooked. They become sushi. I'm awesome. I think I'm going to go Oklahoma here. I want to be one of the only ones that picks Oklahoma, so I want to be there with you on this one. And I don't know, man. Like we just need some true chaos, and maybe this week is one of those weeks where there's bodies everywhere. They're just flopping, and teams are going to be falling down. Maybe Texas is that. I think maybe we could be overrating them, and if not, then hey, they're the real deal, and they proved it this week against Oklahoma, and good for them. They're one of the best teams in the country. I still think the Big 12's just kind of mediocre. I think
it's the worst Power 5 this year, in my opinion. I don't even think it's much debate.
The level and there's just not a big difference. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Oklahoma there. Like this might be a coin flip game. Or me and you are just morons and don't know what we're talking about. Texas wants something. It is what it is.
Right. Yeah, there's I don't think there's much of a middle ground here. I think it's a close game that Oklahoma wins late, or it's a Texas blowout. I mean, it's just how I see the game playing out, one of those two ways. But I just will say, man, last year was an anomaly. If you look over the last, I don't know how many, 10 Red River rivalries, they've been almost all incredible football games, seesaw games, back and forth affairs. So I would expect this game to be similar to that one. I just believe that Oklahoma's kicking game, and I believe that their coaching ability on defense is going to pull this one out for them.
Yeah, I'll give a score prediction. I'll go 31-28.
I like that. Because Texas is explosive, but I do think they go through laws offensively. They'll go through an entire quarter where they're just like garbage. And if you do that against
Wyoming.
Team, right. I mean, even this past week against Kansas, if Jalen Daniels doesn't go down, if Jalen Daniels doesn't go down, that game goes entirely differently. They were just not functional offensively. Kansas, that is. But I do see a situation where they can go through those same laws, and the team as explosive as Oklahoma offensively will make you pay for those.
Yeah, Texas was really bad in that first half against Kansas. They should have led by a whole lot more. LSU at Mizzou, our next game.
I'm going to go LSU here simply for the fact that they have to win this game. You cannot start off the season 3-3 in your second season as the LSU head coach. If you want to talk about somebody who maybe unjustifiably, I don't know, will start to get some hot seat conversations. If you're 3-3 with this roster, with this talent level, with the full NFL offensive line, I think all 5 of those LSU offensive linemen will get drafted one day. I truly do believe that. They arguably have one of the there's not argument. They have one of the 5 deepest wide receiver rooms in the country. Malik Neighbors, Kyron Lacy, Anderson. I mean, I could keep going on and on. Thomas. I mean, there's so many guys.
How much money has Brian Thomas made?
Oh my God. I mean, listen, like it's unjustifiable to go 3-3 with this roster. So I'm going to pick them for the simple fact that they have to win the game. And I think we'll see the best of them this week. But Missouri is incredibly talented. Missouri is incredibly efficient. I think that they have a chance to win the ball game, especially if Luther Burden has the type of game that I think he will, coming out in front of the country and really establishing himself as one of the superstars in the sport. But man, I'm going with LSU because I just feel like they have to win this ball game. I'm trusting they'll understand the gravity of the moment, and we'll see a different level of urgency here for them.
I wish that this was a night game too. I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
what
this
has
is great.
happened to the sport where these massive games are just getting stuck at 9 a.m. Pacific, and the sun's out in Colombia, and it's like, I know growing up this game would have been ESPN, 4:30, 5 o'clock kickoff Pacific time, and under the lights, and just you just eat that stuff up. I don't know, like it's
Yeah,
just a
man,
game
I
I
would love to
wanted
see this
back.
as a night game. I believe
Well,
the fans
the
of Missouri
atmosphere,
deserve it
like,
too. They're five
yeah,
and zero. They have the best team they've had in a while. This is the type of game. And listen, it may be LSU's fault here. If LSU had handled business and at least been 4-1 coming to this game,
perhaps,
it may have been a college game day type atmosphere where somebody gets flexed and you put this game at 6 o'clock.
yeah.
Excuse me, Central Time, and you kick it off at 6 o'clock Central Time, and you have a day. But LSU's coming in 3-2, kind of limping in here a little bit. Probably loses a little bit of its luster, but to me, it adds even more to the situation because it's a must-win game for LSU
Stakes are
right now.
super high for them. It
Yeah.
stinks that this game of this magnitude gets lost because of Red River too.
Yeah.
I mean, like we know the atmosphere of a night game is it just hits so much different than it does,
Right.
in the early afternoon. So that's tough for Mizzou fans. I think Luther Burden's going to eat. I think Brian Kelly, why he might be on the hot seat potentially, is because that man's never taken accountability for anything in his life. And that
Nope.
stuff just gets nauseating at some point.
Yep.
You've got to fix something on your defense. Stop playing Harold Perkins the way that
It's the
he
most frustrating
does.
thing in the country.
It's just like there's
And the
there's clear mistakes being made by LSU because of that man. He just wants to deflect everything. Like he'd be a really good DB.
his
Sorry,
entire
Brian Kelly would be a good DB because of all the deflecting.
uh his entire spiel was that he would be able to recruit better players, it would be easier to win in the SEC, and that everything would be better for him going forward. It's been the opposite. I mean, he had the Alabama win, and I believe that was more
That's
on
all
poor
everyone
coaching
clings
from
on to. Yep.
exactly. I believe that was more for poor coaching in Alabama than anything that Brian Kelly was able to do. But then you blow it 2 weeks later, and then you lose to Texas A&M, who was terrible last year, and now you're looking 3-3 in the face this year. Everything that he promised and that he said coming into this year, excuse me, into his LSU tenure, is actually going the opposite. I know the
Except
LSU
one
fans.
thing. Things are good for him. Make a lot of money.
Oh yeah, listen, man, he gets bought out. Listen, he can retire. He can go to Bora Bora for the rest of his life and sip my ties on the beach. So, listen, as the great John Rivers would say, these guys are coaching to get bought out. But but listen, you're staring 3-3 in the face, man. Like unacceptable. You fire Ed Orgeron to get out of that place. You said that you were going to hire Brian Kelly for stability. And if year two you're losing games on the road to Memphis, or excuse me, to Ole Miss, and you're losing games on the road to Missouri, the program is legitimately taking a step back. We have to understand for what it is. That's unacceptable. And I don't think they'll fire him year two, but we should have the conversations because it'll be warranted.
Yeah, the conversations are good.
Yep.
And if they were to lose this game, well, guess what? LSU is even worse than I thought coming into the season. I said that they're a 9-3 team with a very good chance of going 8-4. So if you're even worse than that, and I
Yeah.
set the bar pretty dang low, then we've got serious issues. So I'm going to take LSU here. I'm going to bet on Brian Kelly to figure this thing out and beat the Missouri team that I think, like, yes, they're 5-0. Yes, they're ranked. Luther Burden is as special gets. And Bray Cook's been balling out since fans have wanted his head put on a stake. But that team's like, man, South
I don't
Dakota
believe in
and
them. I'll be
MTSU
the first to
games,
say
it's
it.
like,
I don't believe in them. But I think they're
it's,
talented.
yeah,
But
but I love Ennis Rakestraw too. Like they've got a lot of good pieces. Javon Foster, like they've got a lot of good pieces that could go out there in the NFL. I just think they're poorly coached. And I don't know, man. It's like Mizzou and Maryland are just super fake 5-0 teams that have not. It's tough to say. Maryland hasn't played anyone. I mean, if we want to talk about Maryland, people want them ranked. If you think that they should be ranked because of how good they are, sure. If you think they should be ranked because they're 5-0, you're out of your mind. They beat Indiana, Virginia, and
Michigan State, I believe.
yeah, Michigan State. But there's another team that they beat that's just terrible. Charlotte. They beat
Oh,
three of the worst
Charlotte,
teams
Charlotte.
in the country: Charlotte,
Yeah.
Indiana, and Virginia. Like, You want to rank that because they're 5-0, and plus Michigan State plus Towson. It's one of the weakest 5-0s I've ever seen. Nonetheless, we're talking about Mizzou, just underwhelming against South Dakota, MTSU. The really good win against Kansas State, which really good win. Memphis is robotic from 50 plus. He's just a dog, and I don't know. Just it's finally time for them to prove something because I couldn't care less about the decent effort against Memphis. I couldn't care less about the win at Vanderbilt. Go out there right now, contend with LSU, and we could talk about ranking. We could talk about Missouri's best team in quite a while, Washington State, UCLA on the network nobody could watch up next.
I'm going to go UCLA simply because I believe they have a better defense. I believe their trenches are better. And then you got a guy like Latsu coming off the edge, who I believe can dominate and wreck an entire game. And I believe we see him have a huge day. And I believe we see Dante Moore in the offense. I don't think they played bad. I think they had some growing pains against Utah, some crazy turnovers. They're moving the ball fine. They get to the red zone and turn the ball over, or have a crazy batted pass that gets picked off. But I think they're fine. I think they're going to be better and better as the year goes on. And I just see UCLA pulling out a close game. I'm saying like 34-20, 34-24 is what I'm feeling for that game. And I believe UCLA wins that game.
I'm actually going to take Washington State here. I think that Washington State's offensive line could do enough to hold up against a really good pass rush and give Cam Ward the time that he needs to just fire to these really great receivers. And these games mean a lot when you're going to play in the Rose Bowl or the Coliseum for these. We'll just say for the sake of it, middle of the Pac-12 teams. They're not, but you get what I'm saying.
For sure.
All these LA
Historically,
kids,
they are. Yeah.
All these LA kids going back home, being able to play out there. They were looked at as rejects essentially by these programs. They go out there, they get a chance to shine. Washington State's got a lot of kids that are going to be able to go out there and prove it. And I think, I just really, really love this team, and the defense is never going to get enough credit because it's Washington State. It's not the brand. Dickert's got a really good defense. I think when you have Ron Stone, Jaden Hicks, and Shaw Smith Wade, Washington State should not be that rich on defense. They've got 3 legit NFL players right there. I would talk about Shaw as a potential top 50 pick. I truly believe he's worthy of that. I think he's one of the best corners in the class. That's just tough for a true freshman to face. We'll see how he fares, though, man. I think it's a really fascinating matchup, and nobody's going to be able to watch it. It just, it'll blow your mind. Like, it's terrible. What are we doing? This is one of the best matchups of the day.
Great matchup.
Alabama, A&M.
This is a tricky one for me. This is one that I had circled at the beginning of the year without knowing what the teams were going to look like. I thought Texas A&M was going to be a 8-4 type, 9-3 type team this year. A lot of people thought they would be really bad, but I knew what they had recruiting wise. They've done some really good recruiting, and their trenches aren't bad at all. So knowing what Bobby Petrino can do, and losing their quarterback hurts very much, but I still believe that Max Johnson is more than serviceable backup. He's a guy that started in the SEC before. He's won some big games. They're loaded at receiver. I'm talking about loaded at receiver. The Evan Stewarts, the Moose Muhammad's, the Nia Smiths. They have some really, really good players. I just think momentum is strong. Momentum is too great right now. Alabama's defense is incredible. I think they're going to rise to the occasion. I think the pass rush, and I think Kevin Steele's figured out what works for this defense, and he's letting his horses go. We saw a lot of read rushing, a lot of 3-man fronts, a lot of defensive, the edge, the linebackers, as they call them in these type of schemes, dropping back in coverage. I hope I never see a Dallas Turner, Will Anderson caliber defensive end dropping coverage more than once or twice a game anymore. And we're seeing those guys get let off the leash here a little bit. And I think the emergence, not the emergence for me, but the solidification of Terrion Arnold being just a dog. You can't pick on him anymore. I don't think you ever really could, but teams weren't going the Kool-Aid. You're not throwing the Kool-Aid side if you can help it, because he's going to be a top 10, 15 pick in the draft. There's no doubt in that. But when you have a Terrion Arnold who's raised his level to be, I don't want to say an equal, but I've heard some talking. I've talked to a couple of scouts and a couple of lead draft analysts in big places, and they think this guy's a back end of the first round type kid now. So you have a guy playing at that level. You have a Malachi Moore, who I believe is the front runner for the Thorpe Award right now. I truly do believe that if I had to vote right now, he would get it because he's just electric, playing all over the field. The way he's playing, I think it's too cohesive right now. The word is still out about Deontay Lawson. If he can't play, that would be, I don't want to say a concern, because Alabama's pretty deep in inside linebacker for the first time in, I would say, about 5, 6 years. They're actually deep at the position, but uh, I think top to bottom, the defense is what's going to pull this out for them. Uh, as long as Jalen Milroe is efficient with the ball, doesn't turn the ball over, which I don't think he has. Like, people talk about his turnover problem. I don't think he has a turnover problem per se. I think you call what works for guys and you play to their strengths. He's not Bryce Young. Early in the season, where he's dropping back, going 5 step, 5 or 6 times in the first quarter, in the second quarter, they didn't play to his strengths. So uh, obviously very invested in this game because I'm really excited about this one. But I truly do believe Alabama's defense pulls it out. The offense will be efficient and not turn the ball over. And Texas A&M will have to play 2 or 3 tiers above what they have to win this game. And we've seen it before, but my money would be on Alabama pulling this game out. I'm saying like a 31-17 type of contest.
I'm taking Alabama here as well. I hope Lawson plays. I just love watching Deontay
Bro.
play.
And I was skeptical. I have to admit, I was skeptical early, but man, that kid's a freak, man.
He is. I was really big on him. Just, I mean, last season I was big on him, and he just really never got playing time or whatever. And then coming into this season, like I've been trying to warn people, that kid's gonna break out in a big way. Like he's a first round caliber player. The intelligence that he has is just mind boggling. He is such a good player. I can't wait to see what he does in the league for years to come. Yeah, I'm taking Alabama here. I'm also just excited to watch Evan Stewart against the Alabama DBs. Like Evan Stewart, football for that kid, it as gifted as it gets. Like that sport just looks so dang easy for that kid.
Yep.
Very excited to watch this matchup between Evan and these Alabama DBs. But yeah, I'm rocking with Alabama's defense here. Still skeptical about the offense. I still want to see them continue consistency week to week and prove it. But yeah, like you said, they're going in the right direction. Like they're putting Milroe in more spots to succeed now, which crazy enough, you want to put your quarterback in a spot to succeed, especially when they're in the top tier. Who would have thunk it? Texas State, Louisiana is our next game. Cajuns are a 1-point favorite.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Texas State, man. I'm really, really happy to see the development of TJ Finley. If you don't, people don't know his story. Started out at LSU, was a starter there. Ended up in a battle with Max Johnson. Ended up losing that job. Transfers to Auburn. Started there for a while. Ended up losing that job. Stays there last year instead of transferring out again. And plays backup role, gets in a little bit here and there. Then he ends up transferring after his junior season. Now he's at Texas State with G.J. Kinney and those guys, and he's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I'm just going to be honest about what it is. He's completing 72.8% of his passes. He has thrown for 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, only 1 interception, and add 3 rushing touchdowns onto that. So I'm super excited to see TJ Finley. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the G5, and he's found his niche. He's found his place that he is comfortable in. And when you have a guy like DJ Kenny who's just fearless and will let it all hang out and let him be who he is and play to his strengths, I think it'll be just enough to win that ball game. But listen, man, Louisiana Lafayette, it's always tough to win in that place.
It is, and Louisiana struggled since Napier got out. They've really struggled, but they finally found something at quarterback in freshman Zion Chris. He's playing very well, dual threat, could truly do it all, and he's posing as a real threat for defenses now. And that's not something that we've been able to say about the Louisiana quarterback since Levi Lewis. Like they finally have Levi Lewis, legend of the game, one icon. Just
yeah, man, he was
miss watching.
Talk about G5 guys. Talk about G5 guys, man. That's about as good as it gets for a G5 guy. If you're talking about just ball control and give you an explosive just when you need it, that was Levi Lewis, man. I like watching him and Billy Napier and those guys play.
Miss watching Levi, but very excited to see Chris and what his future holds. Like they finally got a quarterback. This is gonna be a really dang good ball game between Chris and Finley, two teams that really want to get this win. Texas State wants to get to 2-0 in conference play. Cajuns need this to stay afloat, get to 1-1. This is a very important game. Louisiana's coming off a test at Minnesota, which they fared pretty well in. Chris looked pretty good, aside from a mistake when he got picked off by Newman. Like, dude, you can't be throwing a floater when Newman's anywhere in range. He's going to take that thing with relative ease. It's a really good test. I need Louisiana. I need Draylon Washington. We need to see him get a lot of carries. Like, I don't like this. I don't like that he's not the bona fide lead back there. He's the most talented guy in the room, and it's not even close. Let that kid tote the rock, and you're going to be successful because of it. So I'm going to take Louisiana here. I'm sorry to GJ Kinney and the crew. Next game is going to be Kentucky, Georgia.
Oh man, this game doesn't require a ton of analysis from me. It's very simple. I think they're two very, very stout trench teams. I think one is just exponentially more talented, and that's Georgia, obviously. I think Kentucky gives them a run for their money early, and you see a slugfest. But I'm going to go like a 31-14 type of matchup for UGA pretty comfortably after a little bit of a test early on.
We've got like 20 people that pick games. I'm pretty surprised to see 2 have already picked Kentucky. Very surprised to see that. It's not all filled out, but I was not expecting that many. Look, AP voters, you're not slick. I see what you're doing. I see what you've been doing. Florida was ranked. That didn't make much sense to me. Way to beef up Georgia's schedule. Now Kentucky's ranked after beating that awful Georgia team. Kentucky's ranked after being that awful Florida team. A slip of the tongue. My apologies. What are we doing, guys? We're getting Kentucky ranked. We had Florida ranked. Mizzou's there. That's fine. They could be worthy of it. Tennessee's still ranked. That team really shouldn't be ranked, especially after in how the way that they lost to Florida. Trying to beef up Georgia's schedule, make it look better at the back end, make it look better right now, like they're playing some good ranked teams for a schedule that everybody's ripped apart, saying they don't play the nobody poll. See what you're doing. You're not slick. Nonetheless, this is the first game Georgia plays where they actually get out to a really good first quarter. They finally start fast. They flex their muscles. They don't look back. I think Georgia could eat. I think Georgia could win this one 34-6. I think it's that kind of statement ball game. Statement. It's not. This is Kentucky and this is Georgia. We should know what to expect. You should be expecting a Georgia beatdown. First game this season that they flex their muscles. Notre Dame, Louisville on deck.
Listen, another game that doesn't require much analysis from me. I think Louisville is one of the worst 5-0 teams in the country. I think they have some talent.
We're picking on those teams, huh?
Yeah, I don't think that they're a bad football team per se. Not at all. I think they're a solid team who's found a way to etch out some wins that they probably shouldn't have had. But Notre Dame is an entirely different caliber of team, top to bottom. I think this will be a blowout, honestly. I'm saying like a 37-13 type of win for Notre Dame, who's just going to physically control those guys. And I don't see many avenues for explosives for Louisville's offense. Obviously, you can get out schemed a couple plays here. You know, you have your opening scripts or your big explosive plays that you pull out of the hat on a 3rd and a 4 where you want to dice it up. But I don't see many places where you could pick on Notre Dame defensively. And I think that's going to be the biggest proponent of the loss here. Notre Dame's going to score points against this defense. Everybody scored against this defense. And I don't think that they're going to be able to score very many points on Notre Dame's defense. So 37-13 is my type of pick here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Notre Dame. This one's pretty simple. They could trip up, I suppose, and start slow after 2 very back-to-back emotional wins, and now you're on the road, prime time at Louisville. But at the end of the day, talent better win out. Coaching better win out. You are the better team. You have the better coaches. This Louisville team, Fugazi, like you said. Georgia Tech was a game they could have very easily lost. The Indiana game wasn't even pretty. The NC State game, they really had no business winning. NC State's just that awful. Don't let the ACC preseason poll, where they don't know what they're talking about, fool you. I'm not in on this Louisville team. I'm not in on much of the ACC aside from Florida State and Duke, truthfully. I think those are 2 clear best teams. Miami, we'll see. I think Miami could be a lot better than I've been giving them credit for. I recognize that. I got them ranked and everything, but Notre Dame should have
Right.
rolled through this. Like, what are we? Louisville has very good receiving core. Jamari Thrash is a stud. I love
Yep.
Chris Bell. Bailed them out against NC
Kevin
State. That kid
Coleman's
needs
pretty
some
solid.
work playing. Like they've got the dudes at receiver. Jawar George is stud running back. Aside from that, like this defense got a lot of holes. Plummer is that the quarterback that you want? Is that's your quarterback at ACC team that has aspirations of finishing like top 4 in this conference? I'm
I
good
don't know.
on
I
that.
don't.
Good on that. I'm taking Notre Dame. What we got next? Fresno State, Wyoming.
All right,
Huge,
I'm
huge
going to
here
defer
because
here.
they flexed this game on the Fox, and that was really good. Through TCU, Iowa
Yes.
State out there.
I'm going to defer to you here because I have no idea where I want to pick. Like
Okay.
watching Fresno State, I like their athleticism and their ability. I think they're a more talented ball club. But man, that Craig Bowl, that NDSU type offense, grind it out. Like I think they're just gonna. I'm gonna lean
Harrison
Fresno
Wiley.
State. I'm gonna lean Fresno State here, just because I think they're overall more talented, and I think they're just a little bit better. But man, it's a pick 'em for me. I would not be surprised if Wyoming wins a close, grinded out type of ball game as well. But I'm gonna go with my gut and pick Fresno State by 3 here, by
I
field goal.
I am surprised that Fresno State's a 6-point favorite here. I thought
Yeah,
after, like, I think we're all aware how hard it is to win in Laramie. I mean, Texas Tech knows all too well. App State too got a dose of their own mess in playing at Wyoming. It's a tough place to play. I'm going Wyoming here. I really like Harrison Whaley. I like the run game that they've got. Like they just play a really good clean brand of football that's pretty refreshing to watch at this level because you see this kind of style a lot, but it's not always clean and pristine. This is
right.
they've got a really good defense that goes. Gibbs is a possible NFL guy. You got a kicker too, and Mr. Hoyland, John Hoyland, who should be an NFL guy. He and Browning at San Diego State, two of the best kickers out there in the country, both kicking in the Mountain West. I do like Wyoming here. I think Fresno State's just overvalued right now, man. I do. I know we keep picking on some of these 5-0 teams that are kind of at the bottom of the top 25. I think that's just an indictment on the AP's just messing up with their votes. I don't think Fresno State's the best team in their conference. I think Air Force is the best team in the Mountain West. I would have Wyoming ahead of Fresno State as well. And a Boise State team with a competent coaching staff would be the best team in the Mountain West, but that's neither here nor there. Fresno State really good win against Purdue. Yes, I can we call the win against ASU good? Certainly we can. ASU's now kind of figured it out since they've looked better since Dillingham took over the play calling. Kent State, that's a nothing burger for me. They looked really bad against Nevada last week, only scoring 27. And then Eastern Washington, they should have lost Eastern Washington. Top 25 FCS should have lost that game. Second half of their
Yes.
schedule is going to be much tougher. What I love though about Fresno State, Jeff Tedford, possibly one of the most, not possibly, he is one of the most underappreciated coaches in the country. What he and his staff do to just ooze every ounce of talent out of these players is truly impressive. They get the most out of everybody. They revitalize kids' careers. Mikey Keene is having a career resurgence. Jalen
Yeah.
Gill, I love Jalen Gill. I wrote about him for my player spotlight this past week. He was at Ohio State. He was at Boston College. Things never got going because of injuries and position change in the wide receiver and everything. He's here at Fresno State in the Nico Remigio role, who got to the NFL at UDFA with the Chiefs. And Gill's just crushing it. And they know how to use these guys, and they line him up in the backfield, and they get the most out of his explosion and burst and his savvy route right. Like I love, and Eric Brooks is a really good receiver, and the defense is feisty. It's a very good game, man. I can't believe that we got a banger like this on Fox in prime time. It's very dope to see how much respect the Mountain West has gotten these last 2-3-ish years. But yeah, I'm taking Wyoming. William and Mary, Virginia is our next game.
I mean,
Kind of a stinker.
going Virginia. I'm going Virginia by default here. I'm just saying they have to. They have to. But I'll say this: if they lose this game, you can't let this guy make it back to the locker room. You got to Herm Edwards and pull him at the goalpost
Oh
and
God.
have all the beat writers recording and fire him on the spot, tap him on the shoulder, give him the Godfather pat on the shoulder. Everybody knows what's coming next. Because if you lose to William Mary, no disrespect to William Mary, but if you lose to William Mary, you have to cut ties. It's just simple as that.
I don't even like. I don't even know. These spreads come out on Saturday for FBS versus FCS. I wonder what the spread is going to be. I'm thinking it's going to be like Virginia 8.5.
That's embarrassing.
It is. That's why you
It's
got to make
embarrassing.
change. That's why we made change last year. And you know who I'm picking? Picking
Yeah.
William and Mary. I'm going with Christian Taylor, the offensive coordinator. I love what he's able to cook up. I'm going with Darius Wilson. Interviewed him before a season. Really good dude. I love Bronson Yoder at running back. John Pius. Want to talk about NFL draft guy? Get to know that feared edge rusher. Like William and Mary's got a really good ball club, man. Their offense is fun to watch,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be very happy taking them in this game. I'm going to be happier when they win this game. Um, just just love watching William and Mary. I mean, what else can I say? They better win this game, and then you make the change at head coach for Virginia. It's a win-win. Nate Lynn
Yeah.
also another edge rusher at William and Mary. That's a great player. Like they've got one heck of a team that has aspirations of going to the Final Four again.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I like the rationale here. I really do think it's a possibility. I'm just gonna, it just can't go down like that. It can't. That's
Can't
that's
believe
that's
you want to
embarrassing.
back
On
up the FCS. Wow, that's
listen, man,
crazy.
listen. It's just it's too embarrassing. Like you have to have some pride as a coach, as a team. If you're a G5 team, excuse me, a P5 team, to the caliber of Virginia, who's Virginia isn't what they were in the early 2000s and the from 2000 like 2014. You know when the Chris Longs were there and they had some decent teams there, but they got a lot of pride. They got a lot of history. You
The
can't be losing these
players.
type. Yeah,
How
but
many teams in the country would kill to have Washington and Fields at receiver? Well, that's a really good 1-2 tam they've got. It's just completely mismanaged.
yeah,
Like
but man,
they script well. They always start well offensively, and then the
yeah.
wheels just completely fall off, and it's just screens and swings, and it's
And they do
disgusting.
some boneheaded stuff. And some of that stuff I can't even blame on coaching. But the buck stops with the coach. He's always going to get the blame. But some of the flags they get, like let's use the Maryland game for example. Some of the flags they got in the game were just unfathomable. It's just like the NC State game, just some of the silliest stuff I've ever seen on a football field. And I don't know if you can coach that out of kids, but that's neither here nor there. He's always going to take the blame because he's the head coach. That's how it goes.
It is. It is. Well, hey man, we might be the only show picking this game, so that's pretty cool to say. I'm very excited for it. You shouldn't be excited for a William and Mary Virginia game in 2023, but I am. William and Mary gets his win after dropping the ball against Elon. Our final game, Florida A&M against Southern.
Oh, is an easy one for me. I think I'm going to go Florida A&M here. Willie Simmons is one of the better uh,
Mm-hmm.
G5 FCS coaches anywhere in that range. I'm picking, Willie Simmons to be not at the top of the list, but he's the guy that should be in the conversation when we talk about some of the best coaches in the G5 and the FCS for what he's done with the Florida A&M program. I know Prime got a lot of the respect and a lot of the accolades and a lot of the shine, and rightfully so, for what he did at Jackson State. But I think when a guy like Willie Simmons decides to stay at a place like that for this long, and it's not he hasn't been there like for 20 years or anything, but he's decided to stay and build, and he has something very special there right now. Florida A&M, I believe they've only lost one game, and that was to South Florida, and they gave USF a run for their money in that game. It wasn't just a blowout ass kicking; it was a competitive ball game, and I don't see very many HBCU teams with enough talent to beat these guys. And I like Jeremy Musa at quarterback. I think he's probably the best quarterback in HBCU football. They have some of the best offensive line. I know some of the kids that they recruited out of the Tampa area. They got some pretty solid kids. Maybe not the 4-star, five-star type guys, obviously, but some really good guys that were undersized and maybe a 6'1" guard instead of a 6'3" guy that would have went G5, P5. They're getting those kids at FAMU right now. They're doing really good recruiting, especially in the trenches. So I'm excited to see them towards the end of the season. I hope they get like a Celebration Bowl type atmosphere, and they can go play in some of those big games.
Hopefully, man. Isaiah Major's been really good for them as well. Well, I'll obviously taking Florida A&M here. I love Simmons too. They've got a good tight end too, and Kobe Gross, who was at Florida State for a minute. Like they've just got a really good ball club. If this isn't a clean sweep on the board for Florida A&M picks, I'm gonna be pretty surprised. Okay, it's not. There's a Southern pick. All right, word. Well, we're taking FAMU and we're rolling with it.
Well, yeah, I really like it. I'm glad you put that on there because uh, I really like what Willie Simmons has done. And I know they had some preseason with the music video. They got shot in the locker room. There was some bad press, but I thought it was hilarious. I mean, it was the only time we heard about FAMU all season, so it was probably the best thing that happened to them all season. But I'm excited to see those two teams get a little bit more of a platform. And I know they played the Jackson State game was on ESPN on a Sunday. We did get to see them. You know, they
Orange
normally
Bowl
have that
Classic.
platform. Yep. So I'm really excited to see those teams get more platforms. And I
Yeah,
do think a lot of that, it's an entirely different conversation that I won't get into, but when you get a Deion Sanders that comes back and shines a little bit more light and you get a little bit more eyes on the program, a guy like Willie Simmons can take the fold and really not replace, but he can step into the void that maybe feels for people that have now taken interest into HBCU football. You're looking for a guy that's a little bit of a bubbly presence, that has some swagger, has some charisma, and he has a good football team. And I think Willie Simmons is a guy that's going to capture the heart of a lot of people.
I completely agree. I'm very excited to see them at the end of the season, whether it's Celebration Bowl or whether they sneak into the playoff, whatever they choose.
Yeah.
Like very excited, and it was good to see Florida A&M go out there and kind of really take it to Jackson State after what Deion did to them in years past. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah.
good to see Florida A&M get some revenge. So, yeah, Simmons again too, a great coach, and I love that he's sticking out there. And staying with that program. And thank you, Kyron, for taking the time to do this podcast with me today. Really appreciate it. Best of luck to you on the picks. Let's see what you need. 8-2 from Eric Edholm is the top pick right now.
Okay.
Can you beat that?
So,
8-2.
I'm rolling my picks. The only one I feel a little bit iffy about is Wyoming pick and the Oklahoma pick. But listen, if I lose those two, I feel really good about the rest of them. So I'm rolling here.
All right, word.
But
Just don't
appreciate
go.
you as always, my brother.
No problem. Don't go 4-6. I'll tie you for last. We don't need that. We also, I feel like, had a lot of similar picks. Kind of,
Right.
maybe. Maybe like half and half. I guess that's usually how it goes. Whatever. Thank you again, though. Really appreciate you. If you're still listening, watching on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. Comment below your favorite games that you're looking forward to this week. Upset watch. Let us know. Thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Appreciate you.